Giving you a live look here at our XRAD radar as we continue to track conditions across the Northeast. Giving you a live look here right now from Camden, New Jersey on this Friday evening. We want to take you out to a story from New Jersey here in just a moment because the Northeast is partially underwater tonight. Remnants of Ophelia drenching the East Coast. And torrential rains shut down transit systems and stranded cars in the streets. Let's show you some of this video as water rescues are now underway. Take a look at this. A New Jersey police officer carries a stranded motorist on his back through these deep floodwaters. Parts of the state had received more than 4 inches of rain on Friday, according to the National Weather Service. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy declared a state of emergency as heavy rainfall was expected to continue throughout the day. Murphy advised state residents to stay off the roads, and you can see why. I mean, take a look at this incredible video here. And the severe weather is impacting people all across the tri-state area. Let's give you also a live look here. This out of New York City on this very gloomy Friday, courtesy of EarthCam. The mayor there, Eric Adams, has asked residents to shelter in place as the city has experienced its wettest day in 12 years. Our friends at Fox Weather said the last time this much rain fell at JFK Airport, that was August of 2011. Let's give you a look at how flooding has been for some residents in Queens, New York.
Never like this. I have flood, but this is the worst. It came up from the street.
Neighbors in Woodside, Queens becoming emotional, saying they can't catch a break from all the heavy rain and flash flooding. Inches of rain seeped into basements and garages.
And I saw the sewer started coming up, and that's when the real things, the sewer got pretty full and all the water from the sewer was coming in here and pushing all that stuff in.
Ileana took Fox 5 inside her home as she attempted to dry her basement, water rising up to 3 feet.
It was up to here.
This neighbor's backyard turned into a river. He said at one point water began pouring in from almost everywhere. The water was coming from the
toilet.
Okay.
The pressure up. I'm trying to take showers. The push up. It's very scared. Like a movie, you know.
And this was the scene outside a deli on 31st Avenue in Hobart. Surveillance video from outside the store captured as water covered the street and gushed inside the deli.
And the water came to inside in the store.
How deep did the water get inside your store?
We tried to close the door, clean the water, but it's too much for us. It's keeping, when the car moving, the water keep coming to the store.
All right, so you can see there just how significant some of this flooding has been. This has even knocked out several subway and commuter rail lines, stranding drivers on highways, flooding basements, as you saw in that report there, and shuttering a terminal at LaGuardia Airport in one of the city's wettest days in decades. Let's bring you out to this update from New York. The message from the mayor there: stay home if you can because of this flooding. Let's listen in here to this update next.
Transit right now, so please consider a bus. Now, Metro North, we're standing in historic Grand Central Terminal. There are about 1,000 people down on the floor. We have now been able to restore one of the 3 lines of Metro North. And literally up on the board in the last couple of minutes have been track assignments for the Hudson line. We are hoping to have service operating from the other 2 lines, the New Haven line and the Harlem line, but it is by no means certain. The way to be certain is to get on a subway train and go to the Bronx, where there is, to get around the water condition, Harlem line or the New Haven line, consider taking a train to Williamsbridge or Wakefield, and you can get those Metro North trains that will take you to your destination to the north, and it is all on the MTA website. Kathy's going to have more about that in a moment. And there's also cross-honoring. So even if you just have a Metro North pass, you can get on the subway. Our MTA transit crews will honor that. There is also good Long Island Railroad service. Grand Central Madison, downstairs here, the new terminal is providing full service. At Penn Station, there are some delays, but also providing service. That is a plus for the whole system. In addition, if you're a subway commuter going to Queens, you can use the Long Island Railroad and just show your Metro card, and that will be honored. That's called cross-honoring. So if it's easy for you to take the Long Island Railroad and your normal subway commute is disrupted, take the Long Island Railroad. It's on us. One disruption on the Long Island Railroad, the Far Rockaway line right now is terminating at Valley Stream because of a water condition. They're working to cure that, but right now just that one line, one branch of the Long Island Railroad is impacted. Subway impacts are greatest in Brooklyn. It's no secret that Brooklyn got hit brutally hard in the early a.m., and that has continued. Demetrius Critchlow, who runs the subways, is going to talk more about that. But let me tell you, this would have been a lot worse if we haven't gotten pretty good, unfortunately, in the era of climate change at preparing for these kinds of weather events. Deploying pump trains, covering all the grades, making sure that all the drains are working, and the resiliency work we've done in the last 2 years since Hurricane Ida. It's something that Governor Hochul asked us to really focus on to make sure that we didn't have more of those subway station waterfalls that we all saw during Hurricane Ida, and we've been mostly successful. I want to thank the MTA employees. A lot of them came in early, and a lot of them are staying late and working through the weekend. They are, they are getting, as I said, a lot of practice dealing with this, but we bless them for their service. On the roads, we did have 44 buses out of 3,500 that got stranded at some point during the day, but all of them are out of harm's way right now. But reinforcing the governor's point once again, if you don't have to travel, please stay home. And if you do have to travel, consider a bus. That is probably the most reliable way to get where you're going. With that, let me turn it over to Metro North President, Long Island Railroad Interim President, Kathy Rinaldi.
Thank you, Jano. Most of the impacts, as Jano indicated today, were on Metro North, and as he also indicated, the good news is that we have been able to restore limited Hudson Line service over the course of the last hour or so. 2 trains left in the 4 o'clock hour. We have another 2 leaving in the 5 o'clock hour, so we're happy to be able to clear the terminal out a bit for our Hudson Line customers. The crux of the problem today was flooding in the Mott Haven section of the Bronx. It especially affected a stretch that the Harlem Line and the New Haven Line traverse. We have track patrols out there now to see whether the water has receded, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to restore some limited Harlem Line and New Haven Line service tonight to be able to clear out the terminal and get people home. We are seeing flooding conditions elsewhere in the system. We've got some water on Valhalla near just north of North White Plains. We've got some water at Tuckahoe. The good news is that we were able to clear a flooding condition near Ossining, so the Hudson Line is completely restored. So we appreciate very much the patience of our customers during this unprecedented rainfall. We're hopeful that once the water recedes and once the last band of rain moves through tonight, that we'll be able to run more or less normal service tomorrow. But we are committed to getting people home tonight and getting them home safely. So with that, I'll turn it over to Demetrius.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm Demetrius Critchlow, the Senior Vice President of Subways. Today was just not an easy day for us, but like New Yorkers, we are resilient. We continue to press on. This weather event was consistently changing, made it difficult to accurately predict where it would go and the impacts of where it would hit, and what would happen next. We still expect some rain in the afternoon, so that continues to be something that we are a bit concerned about. But the men and women of subways and New York City Transit as a whole have done a fantastic job in restoring and working to try to restore the service. We're diligently working right now to be able to get things back to service. The preparations for this heavy rain started yesterday. When we learned of the challenging forecast, the division staged personnel at different locations. We staged equipment. We got pump trains ready. We got people in place. We had pumps on trucks. We checked all of our drains to make sure that we had appropriate protection in place. But we got a lot of, as Jano mentioned, we got a lot of rain in the last day. So we're thankful that these preventative measures got us to where we are right now. Now, Kathy talked a little bit about the Metro North. we're encouraging folks to take the 2, 4, 5, and D lines as the best options for customers on the Metro North. The 2 train is currently operating between 241st Street and 110th. And the 4 train is operating from Woodlawn to Bowling Green. The 5 train is operating from Dyer Avenue to Bowling Green, and the D service is running normal. I'll continue with at least the positive news. Due to the hard work of the teams, we do have service restored fully on the A, C, D, E, J, M, Q, and 7 lines, as well as the 42nd Street shuttle. Staten Island Railway is also back to normal service. We continue to work on the other lines to continue to get progress on those lines, but we encourage you to continue to check the MTA map, MTA application for what's next on our service. As we prepare for the second wave of rainfall, our pump trains are ready and our crews are in place and we are staffed. We're ready to take it on, in addition to continue to restore service on these other lines. So thank you.
All right, questions first. Josh Einiger, WABC. Josh.
Thanks, Tim. So Jano or Kathy, actually, question for you about resiliency. I guess 2 of the 3 lines are impacted by this one section in Mott Haven. And I guess I'm wondering, you've done a lot of work on resiliency. Is this an area you're going to look at as a pressure point in the future, or is it just so much rain, something's going to get hit?
You know, we've spent billions on resiliency since Superstorm Sandy. Places like the 100-acre Coney Island yard, the 207th Street yard, we literally have put in a request for a federal grant to do work on this Mott Haven area of the Metro North system. So it's very timely. We are very well aware of this particular area of vulnerability. We've done a ton of work. We have more to go.
Thank you.
All right, in the center there, it's Alice Gaynor with CBS2. Alice.
You mentioned this could have been worse. You were talking about Ida. How does this rank compared to Superstorm Sandy and also Ida?
Well, I'm not a meteorologist, so I can't tell you the specifics of rainfall and rainfall pattern. But as I mentioned before,
on the system.
On the system, listen. This is Ida had a much more destructive effect. I mean, Kathy's talking about being able to restore service in the same day, and at least a significant chunk of Metro North, and we're talking about significant subway service within hours of the conclusion of the rainfall. So this may be a little bit better than Hurricane Ida, but who's comparing? These are, this seems to be a regular occurrence in the era of climate change, and it really hits New York hard because we are so dependent on our mass transit system to move people.
All right, over here on the East Coast, we've got Sarah Goodman from the New York Post. Sarah.
Hi. Do you have any idea why it was that Brooklyn was so badly hit, or why the East River crossings were hit so hard?
Well, I'll let Demetrius talk about the Brooklyn, but literally the concentration of rainfall in the morning. I was there. I live in Brooklyn. I mean, I think we had an inch and a half in 1 hour. It was torrential. So it was really that localized rainfall early in the morning, supplemented throughout the day, that seems to have created the particular conditions in Brooklyn. We are right now, one of the reasons that we're struggling on the west side, on what we call the IRT, on the 123, is because of a condition at 79th Street and Broadway, where I grew up. So it's not just Brooklyn. It just happens that Brooklyn got hit first and hard in the early morning. Demetrius, anything you would add?
The subway system is obviously the lowest point, and so depending on where the rain comes, it's going to seek its way of the lowest point of the subways where we wind up going. The team was ready in all of the boroughs. We had people in each of the boroughs to be able to respond to it, and I think in terms of the other locations that we had prior to this, we had staff people at all of our flood-prone locations that we had identified for floods in the past.
All right, we got Chris Glorioso, WNBC.
Jano, you've talked a lot about how congestion pricing and the capital funding that would be obtained through that can help improve the system. Specifically, how would capital funding under congestion pricing have maybe prevented some of the inconvenience people had today?
Well, listen, the congestion pricing is funding many different things. It's funding ADA elevators. It's funding, signal modernization so we can run more trains safely closer together, more frequent service. But one of the investments in the MTA capital program, one of the categories of investment, is resiliency improvements. And obviously, we're going to spend a lot of that money when congestion pricing comes into being on things that will make the subway system more resilient for these more repetitive climate events.
And Evan Simko-Bednarski here from the New York Daily News. Evan.
Hey, Jenna. So you guys spent a fair amount of time preparing for this, getting people in place, getting pump trains in place, and
all right, you've been listening in here to officials in New York warning of the weather, telling people to stay home if they can as this flooding continues, giving you a live look here courtesy of EarthCam of what conditions look like in New York City on this Friday evening.